Hi everybody, before the rest of my video gets underway, I just want to take a second to thank my wife Leah. Leah, thank you so much for all of your help. Leah pulled the resources, the articles that I have in the comment section. They're really, really good articles, and she found them, she sent them to me, and they are just absolutely what I needed. So thank you so much, Leah, for all your help. Now, on with the video. Well, hi everybody, Pastor Kevin here. I hope you're having a good day. I wanted to share this brief supplemental video from my sermon this past Sunday on Father's Day. I mentioned in the sermon that I wanted to bring this video. It's not going to be very long, but just to share some additional resources regarding parenting, men's mental health, kind of those two things in particular. And then just before I sign off on the video, kind of have a request from you. In the sermon, I talked about June being Men's Mental Health Awareness Month, and that's true. There are alarming statistics on the number of men who are committing suicide, especially over the last couple of years. This is not just happening among senior adult men. It's not just happening in middle age. It's happening also with young adult men who, for whatever reason, across the age spectrum, young men and old men alike, are very much struggling these days. Increasing numbers, alarming numbers of men are struggling with how to be men in today's world. The definition of manhood itself is being redefined in many ways that can cause men today to question the validity of who they are as men, if their expression of masculinity or their desire to express themselves in ways that would be appropriately masculine, is that going to be met with charges of toxic masculinity? Is that going to be met with ridicule or other forms of resistance to that? There are so many men today who, for whatever reason, just feel like they don't measure up, that they can't accomplish what it is that they have set out to do, and many other men who are not even sure what it is they should be setting out to do at all. Many men are dying deaths of despair. Deaths of despair is the name that social scientists have given to the alarming spike and increase in suicides among men and attempted suicides among men. Suicide rates are at such a level for men that for the first time since the turn of the century, we've seen a decrease in overall life expectancy. And 2023 and 2024 recorded some of the highest numbers of suicide in men since 1941. So this is a generational mental health crisis. And so June is a time set aside to bring awareness to and hopefully to normalize and destigmatize the help that is needed and that is afforded to men who are struggling with the challenges of different mental health issues. And so with that in mind, I wanted to share just a few. This is just the tip of the iceberg, but I didn't want the resources and the length of this video to be overwhelming. So again, I know you're busy, so am I. And I don't want that to take us away from what we need to do, but I want to be mindful of your time in providing this supplemental material. Regarding men's mental health in particular, I wanted to share a book called Fighting Shadows. Fighting Shadows, Overcoming 7 Lies That Keep Men from Becoming Fully Alive. It's a new book put out by Pastor John Tyson. He's a pastor in New York City, and Jefferson Bethke, who ministers in Franklin, Tennessee. The links to every resource that I'm talking about today is going to be in the comment section. So you can click on the comments. The first comment should be from me, and it'll have all of these resources. But I'm speaking in September at our men's prayer breakfast, and I am taking much of the material for my talk from that book. So the book Fighting Shadows. And I want to encourage you to pick it up. to look it through, to read it through, and to apply. There are other resources connected to that book that are available as well, my friends. So another one is by a man named Alan Noble. And the book is called On Getting Out of Bed, The Burden and Gift of Living. So I would encourage you to pick that book up and read it as well. Within that, a little bit of a different resource that I want to recommend is actually a podcast along with an online magazine. And it's put out by a man named Brett McKay. Brett McKay is a follower of Jesus, but this is not necessarily a Christian podcast or a podcast and online magazine connected with a Christian ministry. It's just Brett is a follower of Jesus and had a vision several years ago to help men understand what it means in a healthy way to be a man and to experience manhood in this confusing and challenging day and age in which we live. And so the name of his podcast is called The Art of Manliness, The Art of Manliness Podcast. And you can just Google Art of Manliness, or you can follow the link down below. The Art of Manliness podcast is something that I've been listening to for several years, and I read the online articles every single week. Many of the best books that I have read on men's mental health have come. I've learned about those books because the authors of those books were guests on the Art of Manliness podcast. So some of the best books that I've read on anxiety and depression and midlife malaise and all sorts of things have come from the Art of Manliness podcast. I highly recommend it. That's where I learned about the book Fighting Shadows, was on the Art of Manliness podcast. But it's not just mental health. There are spiritual topics that are talked about. Also topics related to skills, hard skills and soft skills that I think many men have not learned in their life. Many young men especially are not learning some of these skills, and the Art of Manliness points you in the direction of where you can learn those things, those hard and soft skills to help you thrive as a man in this world. Also things about physical health and exercise and weight loss and eating right. So it's a resource and a podcast that really helps men address the body, mind, and soul of themselves. I highly recommend it. The link below is to kind of their most popular podcast recently, but Brett just recorded and released the 1000th episode of the Art of Manliness podcast, and I would highly recommend that. A few articles that are posted below on men's mental health. Men's Mental Health Month by Dr. Ed Ning talks about the need for us to see Jesus of Nazareth as the ultimate example of what it means to be a man. And it's something that I think he captures well, because we, for some reason, we're fine trusting Jesus for our salvation, but we don't look to him as an example of manhood. Because Jesus didn't run after wealth, and Jesus didn't try to climb the ladder. Jesus wasn't hustling to the point that he was overstepping people and stepping on people's backs to get ahead. And yet we seem to value that and see that as a sign of successful manhood in our culture, and that's not what our Savior did. And so that article points to Jesus as our example of manhood. Men's Mental Health Month remains a challenging topic is another article, an editorial that came out in a journal, and it talks about the need for men to no longer carry on the stigma that asking for help is somehow a sign of weakness. It's actually the most courageous and strongest thing that you can do as a man, to admit and reach out for help. Too many of us are killing ourselves. Too many of us are trying to kill ourselves, either quickly and immediately or slowly over time. We're checking out. And that is not our path as men. That is not our destiny. And so taking help seriously and reaching out for help is the bravest and most courageous and strongest thing that you can do as a man if and when you're struggling. I say when, because we're all going to struggle with this. It's just, do we have the courage to admit it or not? And then finally, an interesting article on how new fathers should be screened for postpartum depression. There's a statistic that came out from John Gottman, who's a marriage a marriage researcher, and he said several years ago that I think the number is 63%, that marital satisfaction drops by 63% after the birth of a couple's first child. That doesn't mean they don't like their kid, and that doesn't mean they don't like each other. It just means there's a way of living life whenever two people are married and have not had kids yet. There's a satisfaction to that marriage and that relationship because of what they're doing, how they're doing it, when they can do it, how often they can do things and travel and all that. And then a child comes on and everything changes because the changes are drastic and substantial. And the thing about change is change always produces stress. And that stress can be, and often is, a combination of distress, which is negative stress, and eustress, E-U, eustress, which is positive stress. But stress brings about a diminishment of satisfaction. And that diminishment of satisfaction and that increase of exhaustion when a new child comes on the scene we've known for a long time that this is the cause of postpartum depression in women and in mothers, and we should be paying attention to that. What has been overlooked is how postpartum depression has shown up in the lives of the fathers. It's been overlooked, it's been swept aside, it's even been ridiculed, even denied, but we're finding that there's something to it for men as well. So that article is interesting, and for those of you who are new dads or dads-to-be, I'd recommend checking that out. Now, thank you for hanging with me. The other resource that's listed there are two books on parenting. And one is Growing With. Every Parent's Guide to Helping Teenagers and Young Adults Thrive in Faith, Family, and Future. And I know I can always use more help as a dad, even though my kids are grown and gone and doing well. But wherever you are on the parenthood spectrum or the fatherhood spectrum, we all could use help in what it is that we're supposed to be teaching our kids and modeling for our kids as dads. And that book, written by Kara Powell and Stephen Argue, both of them are at Fuller Theological Seminary. It's a very accessible, very easily readable book, but highly applicable book there. And then another book that I intend to bring in as a small group or a Sunday school curriculum over the next couple of semesters is a resource called Intentional Parenting. It was written by Doug and Kathy Fields, and it's just a really good resource on how to show up in an intentional way in the lives of our kids as their parents. Very well written, very applicable, very accessible, and I listed that there. Now, as I said, this is just the tip of the iceberg. So many more resources, so much more content, but this is a place to start. And these are the things that I had in mind as I preached Sunday, but I didn't want to take another 12 minutes, 12, 13, 15 minutes to talk about these resources. So I'm sharing this video, these supplemental materials with you now. One last thing before I go. Please put your comments in the comment section with suggestions for other content or other things that you would like to see me share, other ways that I can be of help to point you in the right direction for resources as men and as fathers, and any questions that you might have. Now, the last thing before I go, I get to serve a church that has taken the stigma out of getting help for hurts, habits, and hang-ups and addictions and different things. And I love that. I love serving at Quail Lakes Baptist Church here in Northern California. And if you are in the vicinity here, in the Stockton, Sacramento area, and you are struggling as a man, please know we have resources here. We want to come alongside you. We want to help. We have Celebrate Recovery. We have a specific men's ministry. We have a group of men known as the Axis Group who get together and pray with each other and study together and do life together. We have a men's commission who are constantly trying to find ways to support men in our church and in our community. And we have a strong, robust counseling program here in our church where we can pair you up with someone who can help. And then we have a strong referral system where we can get you in touch with a mental health professional so that you can find the help and encouragement that you need. And so please let us know how we can help. You can email me, kevin@qlbc.org, with any questions, thoughts, or suggestions, or again, drop a comment below in the video, in the comment section of this video, and let me know how I can be of help. That's all for now. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. If you're struggling, know you're not alone. You are not alone. Other men stand ready to come alongside you, and our Heavenly Father stands ready to heal you. Let us know how we can help. Have a good rest of your day.